Good evening, my YouTube viewers. It is Crystal here, and I'm here this evening because I want to do a code review. And in this code review, what I'm doing is I've got 4 functions that I have written, and these 4 functions have some statistical formulas in them. So basically, what it is that Python has its own built-in statistical library where you can calculate statistics. And in addition to that, you've got libraries such as stats models and Seaborn, which are based upon statistics as well. But in order to improve upon your programming skills, it's a good idea to learn how to make these functions yourself. And what you could do is if you had a whole bunch of statistical functions, if you wanted to, you could put them on PyPy, and then, which I've never done it, and then you could call up this PyPy and call up the statistical functions as a library, and you could share them with other people. But I personally have never used PyPy, but it's something that you can do if you want to do it. So I just want to check something here because it says last checked 0441, so I wanted to make sure I've got all my functions. So the first function we're going to look at is average, which is also referred to as mean. And so the mean value is the sum of terms in a list over the number of terms in the list. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over the code on how to actually calculate the mean. So the first thing you do is you're going to define your functions and call it calc mean x, and x is going to be your list. You're going to define a temporary value and you're going to initialize it at 0. And then you're going to say for I in range 0 to len x. And so basically what it's going to do, it's going to iterate through all of the elements in x. Temp equals temp plus xi. So what you're going to do is you're going to sum all of the elements in x and put that in temp. And then whenever the for loop has finished iterating, then you're going to say temp equals temp over len x. So that's going to be the sum of all the values over the number of elements. And so it's going to return the temp. So we're going to check this out. We've got a list with 600, 470, 170, 430, 300. And the average is 394. So the next formula that we're going to calculate is variance. And so this is the formula that you can use to calculate variance. And basically what variance is tells you is how much something varies from the mean. So we've already calculated the mean, so you know what the mean is. And since you know what the mean is, then what's going to happen, I'm sorry about this, what's going to happen is you're going to look and see how far the elements vary from the mean. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to calculate, you want to define your function, call it Calc Variance, and it's going to take a list as an input. So mean x equals calc mean x. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use the function that we previously wrote called calc mean, and we're going to find the mean of the list using calc mean, and you're going to put that number in mean x. You're going to have a numerator, and you're going to initialize it to 0, and then you're going to have a list of empty list called different from mean that you're going to initialize to 0. And so we're going to make a for loop for I in range 0, len x, and 1 step, diff from mean, append xi minus mean x. So you're going to append xi minus the mean, because what you want is the difference from the mean. And numerator equals numerator plus diff from mean I squared. And so whenever the for loop finishes iterating and it gets all of that information, we're going to define the variable variance x equals numerator over len x. And so that's telling you your total variance. So what I wanted to do is say print difference from mean is diff from mean. So you can print the list and see what the difference from mean is, and then we're going to return the variance. So we've got our list again, which is the same list that we had in the previous function, and we're going to print variance is, and then we're going to call it the function calc variance list, and the variance is 21,704. And I did actually check this with a program where they were telling me how to compute it by hand. So what I did was I got this program telling you how to compute it by hand, and I checked it, and they gave you a test values, and so I checked it, and it turned out correct. So I know it's correct because I checked it. Now the third formula that we're going to look at is the formula for median, and I found median to be the most difficult formula to use initially, because there's one formula that you can look at if it's even, and then there's another formula that you can look at if it's odd. And so I had a really hard time. So basically, I got this formula here from Stack Overflow, but we're not going to go over it. I mean, I've got it on the screen. If you really want to use it, you can pause the program and you can use the code that you've been given that you're being given. But I just felt that this was just too much for a beginner. And so the thing is I tried really hard to make the program myself, and finally I had to look at Geeks for Geeks, and this is the formula that we got from Geeks for median, and it works. I checked it. So I checked it with if it was even, and then I also checked it if it was odd. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to define your function and call it calc underscore median, and it's going to take a list of numbers as an input. N equals len x, which is the length of the list of numbers, and then x dot sort. So we're going to sort the list of numbers. If n is divisible by 2, then median 1 equals x n, and this is called like a floor. It calls a floor divided by 2, and it rounds down. And median 2 is x n divided by 2, minus 1, and it rounds down minus 1. And then median equals median 1 plus median 2 over 2. And that is the code that I got from Geeks, and it works. And these double divisions is something called floor. So what it does is it divides something by 2, and then it rounds down. So that's what you do if the length of the list is divisible by 2. If the length of the list isn't divisible by 2, i.e. it's odd, then median equals x n over 2. And so that's just easy. It's a lot easier to do it if it's odd. And then you return median. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 6 elements in this list, and we've sorted the list, so the list has to be sorted. And then so you're going to be looking for between 430 to 470, so that's 450. So that works, so that's good. The last formula that we're going to look at is standard deviation, and this is the formula for your standard deviation. And the formula for standard deviation is the square root of variance. So in this instance, we're going to be calling up one of the functions that we have previously created called Calc Variance. So if you can calculate the variance, then all you have to do is take the square root of the variance, and then you've got the standard deviation. So how you go about that is you have to define your function called calc std, and then you're going to use a list of numbers as an input, and variance x equals calc variance x. So you've got your variance x just using a function that you have already made. Stdx equals variance x to the power of 0.5. So the power of 0.5 is actually a square root. And you return stdx. And then so what we did was we got the difference from the mean, because that came up when we made the function called calc variance. And now what we're going to do, a standard deviation is 147, which is the square root of the variance. And that's correct too, because I checked that. I found a website that was showing you how to calculate all of these formulas by hand, and they gave you an example to use, and I just used the example that they gave, and so this is correct, and I know it's correct because I used the example they gave. So that concludes the 4 statistical functions that we've gone over in this code review, and so you're more than welcome to use it. And as I said, for the median, I had to use Geek for Geeks because I was just having a lot of problems with it. And I'm under a lot of pressure to work quickly and try to put out a blog post every day. And so sometimes if I just can't figure something out, I have to look on the internet and try to find what somebody else has done to help me figure it out. And so that's what I had to do with the median. So you've been given the code for 4 formulas now. You've been given it mean, median, variance, and standard deviation. And so that's the code that you can use. I mean, obviously, this code is also available in the Python programming language in an internal internal inbuilt library called statistics. And there's other places where you can find the code as well. But if you want to be a good programmer, then you need to know how to solve these algorithms, and you need to know how to write your own algorithms, which is why I'm doing this code review. So since we've gone over the 4 functions of the 4 statistical formulas, I'm going to go ahead and close this video. So I would like to thank my subscribers for supporting my channel. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share, because I look forward to making other videos in the future. Thank you.